What up, what up, what up? Good morning. This is Coach Josh Graves, and I'm bringing you 5 things for 5 minutes at 5:55 a.m. to start your day. So, the thought today is really about fear because all the great things in life happen on the other side of fear. And I recently experienced this when I graduated the project. The project was awesome, it was intense, and it showed me a lot of things. But it's super crazy because there's a concept when you do the project about ringing the bell to quit. It's like a Navy SEAL bell. So if you decide to quit, you ring a bell and you ring it 3 times to symbolize you're quitting on yourself, you're quitting on your family, you're quitting on your team. And they would bring this bell out during all the physical evolutions. So every time we did something awful and horrific, when we were at the beach and they were trying to drown us in the ocean, or we were out there crawling in gravel and loose rock and cutting our elbows and arms and bleeding and stuff like that, they would bring the bell out there and they would invite you to quit. Like, hey, you could stop and it would be easier. If you're cold right now, if you quit and ring the bell, you can go sit in the heater, you can go sit in the van with the heater on. Like, they would do all these things mentally to try and get you to quit. I never even considered quitting when it came to doing any of the physical things. When I was actually doing the physical things, that was actually the most at peace I was during the entire project. The only time I ever even considered quitting was actually in between evolutions or before evolutions. It was oftentimes like the fear of how bad the water was going to be at the ocean or how hard the next day was going to be. Those fear thoughts, that anxiety, that uncertainty, that doubt that was creeping in, those were the things that made me actually consider wanting to quit. So it brought up this concept for me in my life of like, what other things am I fearful of that aren't actually that freaking bad? That like, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna drown, just get through and do the dang thing, right? So here's 5 things that are gonna help you overcome your fears. And it starts with number 1, that action cures fear. Doing the thing, running through the problem, oftentimes takes care of the fear itself. All right. So number 2 on this is that you've got to destroy your negative thoughts while they're really small before they become mental monsters. So a lot of the times is you start thinking about all the things that could go wrong, all the scenarios, all the pain and how bad it's really going to feel. This stuff starts to become this gigantic workload in your brain. And oftentimes, like the reality is not as bad as the fear itself. So you've got to destroy your negative thoughts before they become giant mental monsters. Destroy them when they're little. All right. So number 3 is, when you're operating in this operating system, this low frequency operating system of fear, a lot of times we'll go to like the bank teller of our subconscious, and the bank teller is kind of like just there to do whatever you ask them to do. So if you go to the bank teller like, hey, I need an example of a time where I failed, a time where I didn't come through all the way, a time where I came up short. Give me some examples of that. The bank teller's like, sure, for sure. Let me go into your files and I'll dig out some of those examples of times you fell short or quit or did really bad stuff, right? Stop asking the bank teller for that stuff. Instead, when you go to your subconscious with some ideas of like, give me an example of a time I succeeded. Where were some times where I had something that was really hard that made me a little anxious beforehand? And give me an example of a time where I overcame that or I crushed that, right? Then all of a sudden you start digging through your file cabinet, you're like, oh yeah, actually, you're right, I am a stud. I have overcome really big things before. I've got this, right? So be careful what you're searching your brain for. You want the positive stuff. All right, that's number 3. Number 4, hesitation makes this stuff way worse. So when you're fearful of something and you don't take action, right? I told you earlier, action cures fear. So you don't take action, you're waiting to deal with the problem. The longer you wait, the longer you hesitate, the bigger the fear grows, the worse the thing becomes. Hesitation makes fear worse. The only way out is through. You just got to go through this stuff. Take action and get started immediately. All right? So hesitation makes fear grow. I saw a sign one time that I really liked. It was like a parody on like a zoo sign, which is like, don't feed the bears, but it said, don't feed the fears. And I love this, right? Don't hesitate, because in your hesitation is how you're actually ramping up that fear. You're giving that fear fuel, if you will. All right. And then the 5th and biggest tip that I've got for you, I got from Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is one of my heroes. But Grant Cardone talked about this idea that fear oftentimes is telling you what you should be actually doing. The thing that excites you and scares you at the same time is the ultimate thing to run at. So a lot of the times I treat fear like it's a call to action, or it's like a compass, if you will. If something's like, oh, no, that's cool, that sounds boring, yeah, I've done that, been there, like, ooh, that's kind of scary, I'm not sure if I could do that. Well, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. All growth happens on the other side of doing something that's uncomfortable. So if it's uncomfortable or it scares you a little bit, that's what you got to start running at. So when you feel fear, that's the perfect opportunity for you to do the thing anyways. The best of the best of the best, the best in the world, the best in class at anything, they all feel fear. There's not a single person alive that doesn't feel fear, anxiety, uncertainty, doubt at times. But the best feel the fear and they do the thing anyways. So those are your 5 thoughts right there, man. Check it out. Action cures fear. Action cures fear. Kill negativity and bad emotions when they're small before they become mental monsters. Ask your subconscious for proof of concept that you can win because you've done it before. Don't hesitate on your fears. And last but not least, man, fear is actually oftentimes telling us that we're being led to do something that's going to grow us. So go conquer your fears today, and I'll catch you on the next one. Let's go. Boom!